One of the major concepts in data science is that a data science project follows a little bit different cadence than a software development project does. What I've laid out here are the basic stages in a data science project. So typically it starts with a business question. Sometimes this can be an actual question where someone has a concern and you attempt to answer it, using available data or data that you've gathered. Oftentimes the question comes in the form of a data set, where someone brings you a data set and then asks you to figure out if there's anything that's interesting that happens inside of that data set. But after the question, you go into this process of munging. And munging is all of the nuances associated with manipulating the data to prepare it and understand it for the modeling stage. The modeling stage is where we start to apply the advanced mathematical techniques. You can go from basic descriptive modelings, which sometimes just have to do with summary statistics, all the way out to full-blown deep learning models. After the modeling stage, we go into a visualization or presentation stage where you prepare your insight for consumption. Sometimes it's a report, sometimes it's a dashboard. If you're a developer, sometimes it's an API. And if you're an analyst, sometimes it's a presentation or a written report or maybe a research paper. And then that solution gets iterated on as it goes back to producing more insight through greater and greater business questions. So if we break this process down into its component parts, you can see that the disciplines that we talked about earlier, they fall into different categories throughout this process. So early in the process, when we're doing this munging and we're getting the data, we're parsing it, we're filtering it, we're mining it, that's when we really need to know where the data came from, that domain-specific knowledge, and that's where most of the heavy computer science applications take place. So if you're working in a big data environment or you're manipulating large data structures, that's where these two components come together. When you're at the tail end of the munging, going into modeling, that's when statistics, data mining, or the applied mathematics start to become more important. And then after modeling, when you get through and you're getting ready to present or visualize your outcomes, that's when you have actually a different set of skills that are required. Maybe user experience becomes the most important skill set, or visualization or interaction associated with the product that you're building, and then out to the solution from there. So as you can see, in order to do data science, you actually have to tie together a lot of different skill sets so that this process works as fluidly as possible. And though this seems detailed, it is actually consistent in my personal experience that most data projects follow this perfectly. You go from collecting and manipulating data out to modeling it and then preparing it for presentation.